What's going on, everyone? Welcome to the very first episode of Finance with Parks. I apologize for the not so creative name, but as an introduction, my name is Michael Parks. I am from San Diego, California originally, and now I live in Dallas, Texas. I'm starting this channel to kind of talk through things I'm going through in my personal life with a focus on money and finances. So in college, I studied finance. I've always been a numbers guy. I love talking money and finances. I like getting into the details. I love working in Excel. But what I wanted to do with this channel was to help spread information and how you can apply some basic finance lessons to your everyday experiences. And a lot of those things I'm doing for the first time and hoping we can help out some of our viewers from lessons learned or just spreading information in general about how you can apply some of these lessons to home buying, for example. So it's been really exciting. My fiance and I are currently looking to purchase just spoil it now, but a townhome. We're leaning towards buying a townhome. And as we were kind of going through the process, I was thinking, wow, there's a lot of things I was not aware of or nuances that I thought would be really interesting to share with people. And so that kind of kicked off the idea for the channel. And just full disclosure, I do not pretend to be an expert in real estate or buying and selling homes. I mean, self-admittedly, this is the very first time we're doing it. But what I hope I can do is just share, relatability or just our raw experiences. And for those of you that are experts, please feel free to comment. If I say something incorrect, please correct me. If you have other things maybe to add to this conversation about why you would pick a house over a townhome, please feel free. I think that would be great, and as much information we can get out to people who are going through this for the first time as well, the better. So that's kind of the brief introduction. The next episode, this would be episode 1. The next episode, going to talk through renting versus buying, kind of what spurred us to go from the renting side to think about buying a house. Right now, we're in a 1-bedroom apartment, so size was definitely one of those factors, but that will be on the next episode. So let's go ahead and jump right into it. Or I guess before I move on, what you can expect from a video posting perspective. This will be the first one, and I'm going to try to post every Sunday, at least once a week. You'll notice that it'll just be a straight live streaming video, essentially. I'm not big into editing and didn't really want to spend the time doing so. So I'm just going to sit down and kind of just talk through these things live here. So thanks for joining, and let's get into it. So let me go to the next slide here. So where we're going to start is the townhome pros, kind of what we found, and this is just our personal opinion, right? So the first one was price. The townhome we're looking at is $313,000. I don't want to spoil the size pro, but it is almost 2,300 square feet, so it's a very good sized townhome. But price was huge. In that same kind of range, we'll say, from 320 to from 300 to 325. The houses we were looking at were kind of outdated. They have old style kitchens, yellow cabinets, tile, and I know a quick response maybe, well, you can renovate or change a lot of those things, which is true. It's just I'm not the handiest person on planet Earth, and we didn't really want to take that on as a responsibility. So there are options to upgrade or renovate homes, right? But we kind of lean towards the townhome because for that price, we thought we got a nicer place. And that's right into the second bullet there, right? It's a new build. So what we selected was a lot or a townhome that hasn't even been built yet. And the nice part about that is we're going to be able to go into the design center, and they give you a lot of options. One of the cons, I guess, is that I don't highlight in the next chart, but one of the cons is those upgrades do cost additional or have additional costs associated with them, right? So even though they told us the base price is $313,000, we do get $9,000 in free upgrades, and I think that varies by community. But we do have $9,000 to spend. Anything on top of that we add on at the design center, whether it be an upgraded kitchen cabinets, upgraded appliances, carpet upgrades, tile. There will be a lot more things that are upgrades than you would wish to expect. So that is something to keep in mind with the townhome, but we just really liked the new build. When you go in and look at the model for the first time and you see how nice a newly built place is, it was a no-brainer for us from that perspective. And then size, I'll just highlight it quickly because I already talked about it, but the 2,300 square feet It just seems like you do tend to get a bigger unit for the price on a townhome. And 2,300 square feet is large. I'm not saying that's normal. At least from what we've seen, it's not normal for a lot of townhouses, but we really lucked out from that perspective. And then maintenance. So it does lead into a con. That would be HOA fees, right? But on the positive side, a lot of your common areas are taken care of. The grass is mowed. The exterior is normally is manicured for you or taken care of. So there are positives from that perspective. You don't have to take care of a yard. That's really one of the biggest things for a townhome, right? You don't have to pay for gardeners. You don't have to go out and do it yourself. A lot of that is already done or covered in the HOA. Then the community feel. So the community we are looking at, it is very close together, but what's nice about a townhome is Melissa and I moved to Dallas 2 years ago, and we don't know a ton of people. So a pro for a townhome is you're going to be next to a lot of neighbors. It hopefully will be easier to meet people maybe closer to our age. There's normally down at the bottom bullet there, it's kind of mixed together, right, with amenities, but there's normally a community pool, there's normally a gym, things like that. So another opportunity to be able to meet your neighbors or to socialize with other people in the area. And that's not to say that houses don't have that, because the city I grew up in, or the neighborhood I grew up in, Poway, our neighbors were really close. Everyone hung out together. So it's not to say you can't get that in houses, but there is that extra, opportunity as far as gyms or community pools to be able to meet other people. So those were kind of the pros that we highlighted in our mind, and then we'll kind of get into the cons, which also could be known as house pros, right? So let me switch down here. Okay, so the first con is HOAs, the cost. So the cost of ours is $210 a month for the HOA, and to me that sounded really expensive at the beginning. It kind of gets a mixed reaction. Some people do agree with me and think it's expensive, and others are like, oh, that's nothing for an HOA. We've heard of some people up in the $400 to $500 a month range. So it depends on the community and the area. It also obviously depends on what you're getting as part of that HOA, but 210 still seemed pretty steep to me, so that was just something we had to weigh in our decision making, right? Limitations with HOAs. So we just got sent our rule book, I guess, for the HOA. It's 70 pages long. It's absurd. And it's not the most exhilarating reading, obviously, but it is important to go through because they do have limitations and things you can do. First one, outside renovations. They really want all of the houses to look the same, and they don't want you making, drastic changes to your outdoor patios or to the roofing, things like that. So there are limitations. You can't be adding on bedrooms, adding on buildings, all that stuff is limited from an HOA perspective. Pets, some are a little more strict than others and more unique, I guess I'd say. The first line item in our rule book about pets is no farm animals. So the pigs and chickens that we wanted to bring inside are not going to be allowed, unfortunately, which you'd think, I guess, is standard, but they do highlight that as the first one. So you have to read through your specific rule books, right? But for ours, it was no farm animals, and then there's a limit on pets of 3. So you can only have 3 pets max, and I assume that includes everything, dogs, cats, rabbits, whatever pets you had, you can only have 3. Some of them have limitations on the size of pets. Like dogs have to be under 25 pounds, for example. I've heard of that one before. I don't think that was in ours, but I have heard of that existing before. So just make sure if you are looking in a townhome, or honestly just an HOA in general, that you read through all of those rules and regulations first. And then storage limits. There are limits about what kind of cars you can park in the driveway. They don't want, rundown trailers or things like that sitting in everyone's driveway. There was a note on ours that parking outside of our driveway or our garage is frowned upon, just because those exterior areas they want free for either just normal guest parking or clear of parked cars in general. So I thought that was interesting. And then I have a boat that I really want to put in the garage, but one thing we had to check was that they allowed boats to be stored in that garage area, because there are sometimes limitations on things like that. So I know I put that in a con of the townhome. These days it seems like, and especially in Dallas, homes and townhomes are coming up with HOAs, especially a lot of these new build communities are implementing that. Back in San Diego, I hadn't even really heard of HOAs. but it seems like that's kind of where the market is trending, is for a lot of these new places to have HOAs. So that could be a downside on a house as well, and just make sure you read through all of those things. All right, so one of the big cons for a townhome, it relates to the pro of price, right? But it's wall sharing. So in a townhome, for these builders, the reason that it's so cheap and they can pass on some of that price savings to the buyers is because you're sharing a wall, and it limits for the builders. It's a lot easier to be only creating 1 to 2 walls for each house than it is to build a totally separated unit for a traditional home. So unfortunately, though, there's noise issues that come with that, right? There's privacy. We are fortunate that we're going to be on a corner unit, so we're only sharing one wall with our neighbor. But keep in mind, even though we're on the end, the next building, or the next set of 5 buildings, I guess, we're this far away, right? So it's not a ton of room, but we aren't sharing 2 walls, which is still, I guess, a good settling point. All right, and then the last one, the limited yard and garage space. Probably one of the top reasons I hear people say they pick a house over a townhome, right, is that they want their own yard, they want a big garage, and they want some privacy, or they want some space in between themselves and their neighbors. And that's fair. That is 100% a con with townhomes. You are right on top of everybody. Like I said, you're sharing a wall. Your neighbor's front porch is 2 feet away from mine. And so there are limitations with that from a townhome perspective. But for us, and kind of the way we've rationalized it so far, is that we're in an apartment right now. So we're already sharing 1, 2, and a ceiling. So essentially 3 walls with other people. And it really hasn't bothered us. We're probably the loudest ones of the 3 that we share with. So that really wasn't a deal breaker for us when we were looking at the townhome. And now just kind of talking big picture, right? As we decided to go this route, we were thinking, this would be a good purchase for the next 5 to 7 years. We get a brand newly built place, which is awesome. We get a decent price for, all things considered. And the size is really good compared to the homes we were looking at, with not having to do a lot of upgrades. So that's kind of why we'd settled on the townhome. It's in a really nice community, and we're really excited about it. So hopefully that was helpful. That was, my top level thought process. But please feel free, if you have other pros and cons of why you would, or maybe why you would go towards a house instead, please feel free to comment below. On the next episode, we'll talk about, like I mentioned, why we started to look for buying a house and why we got kind of tired of renting. So hope you guys follow along with that one, and thanks again for watching. We'll talk to you soon.